Well, good morning, one and all. You join us back fresh after the summer break. We've arrived at Red Bull Ring and qualifying one action, with Group A kicking us off in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And so far, the championship has certainly taken some massive strides. Air temperature here today, 11 degrees. Track temperature, 15. Humidity, a striking 84% after the severe rain we had late last night. But now the sun is shining. We'll surely see that dampness now start to lift itself from the track surface as we now get set for more action in this season's campaign. In terms of the championship so far, Freddie Slater stepping up and current championship leader at the moment, 186 points, only 16 clear though of Matteo De Paolo from Trident, and Enzo Dellini, who was fastest in collective test 1 coming into the weekend after setting a 125.837. He sits in third place and 46 points back from Freddie Slater right now. But obviously, as you all know, folks, change can occur. We've seen plenty of it this season. If we go back to our last round at Imola, some of you might remember that Freddie Slater did finish, in fact, inside the top 2 in that final race, but was later disqualified, therefore losing a huge plethora of points, which obviously now brings that championship gap all the more closer, inviting the likes of De Paolo and Enzo Dellini into the fight. And a big shout out as well to Tim Gerhardt on his return as well. Collective test 2, fastest time, albeit though, whilst we did have changeable conditions late yesterday, it was a 127.100 for the Santaloc driver, but no question, it will help his confidence coming into the weekend. We have got plenty of box ticking exercises for you as well, because we've got a flood of new drivers coming into today's session, and indeed for this round here at Austria. Of course, stepping up here this weekend in place of Dorian Pan, we do have Alex Powell, also a Mercedes junior driver in his own right, stepping up from Italian F4 this campaign and now taking the number 41 Prema car. And also at RPM, we introduce Rino Francot as well, who's coming in to join RPM for this particular round in the championship. A very exciting young man. He is very keen to get started in his first venture here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and all the credit to him. He has certainly risen to the occasion. We look forward to seeing him in action. Certainly a young man with a lot of confidence. We also welcome Enea Frey as well to the grid, the 16-year-old from Ironstein in Switzerland, the Swiss driver. Of course, Michael Frey, his father, a former sports car driver and raced in the 24 Hours of Le Mans 3 times between 2011 and 2014. And made, of course, Enea Frey made his single-seater debut in 2024 as well. And since then has gone on to take part in the Formula Winter Series, Italian F4, as well as F4 Central European Zone, and later Euro 4, and of course Formula Winter Series in 2025 as well. So back-to-back years in those championships, and now making the step up into F3 level at the same time. We also welcome Newman Chi, or Zhenri Chi, as well, who's coming in to join the grid, the 16-year-old with an Italian flag against his name, but born in Wenzhou, China. Debuted in karting at age 5 and then took a podium on single-seater debut in the Formula Trophy Series, joining Prema ahead of his first season of Italian F4 and E4 in 2025. But today comes in under the banner of CL Motorsport, and we do wish him the very best of luck. So 2 new faces in Camp CL this weekend. We look forward to seeing how they get on. Of course, they've got the very experienced Michael Belov in their corner as well, who I'm sure has offered some words of wisdom to our 2 young talents, that's for sure. But now, as we get qualifying action underway, 2 groups as normal, folks. Kicking things off, of course, Group A on Saturday. Tomorrow, of course, we'll see Group B heading out first, but for today, it's Group A kicking things off for us, with Group B coming up afterwards. Freddie Slater, Enzo Dellini, Akshay Bora, Hiyu Yamakoshi, Taito Kato, Jin Nakamura, Dion Gauda, Michael Belov, Giovanni Maschio, Ian Eichmanns, Tim Gerhardt, Jaroslav Vassallo, Rino Francot, and of course Newman Chi make up the drivers that are taking part in Group A for this particular session. So we'll see who flourishes and who manages to make their way to the front end of the order, as we now watch them make their way through the fast left-handers. Of course, we're usually taken quick. Obviously, the driver's trying to build up to their laps at the moment, but coming through Roche and Verth curve, and then later the run down towards Jochen Rindt corner. And then the final bend at Red Bull Mobile Curve as well, where, of course, Akshay Bora had a huge incident at the start of the weekend, and even said himself that he was quite fortunate, but struck the steel barrier on the inside. Fortunately enough, he was, of course, okay, and getting set, obviously, to return to the track again this time. But Akshay Bora, fresh from that standout weekend, taking his first win in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine at the incredible Imola circuit, where you know, certainly it's a track we always love going back to in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. A breakout, standout weekend for the young driver. Of course, part of the R-Race GP team, and now looking to take the fight to Prama's Freddie Slater and also Trident's Matteo De Parlo, who has graced Trident with their first victory in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine as well, and has now since gone on to become that championship contender. So it's going to be a very furious fight right through the course of the weekend, folks, as we now watch the tyres getting warmed up by Enzo Dellini. Of course, like I said, fastest in collective test one, though albeit results haven't been, should we say, stellar in recent times for Enzo Dellini, though I will say Imola was a standout weekend for him too. Remember Victor back in Imola Race 1. It was a double R-Race GP affair last time. Of course, Bora taking the Race 2 victory, finishing across the line in front of Freddie Slater, who would later get disqualified at the end of the race. Of course, Enzo Dellini has already taken wins prior to this, though. Some of you might remember Spa-Francorchamps Race 2, which also meant 2 podiums that weekend for young Enzo Dellini, and looking to carry on his grand, vibrant form, and has got Hadrian David in his corner as well, guiding him. Of course, many of you will know Hadrian David, former racing driver for R-Race GP here in the Formula Regional European Championship Series, and it's great to see as well that he's gone on to represent R-Race, of course, in LMP competition. Oh, big lock-up there for the 23 of Enzo Dellini. Currently first fastest at the moment with a 1:28.745 as the times come in across the line. Dellini's time unsurpassed. The only driver in the 1:28s at the moment. We do have purple sector times coming in elsewhere. The times are certainly getting thick and fast. No question we're going to see some really aggressive track evolution through the course of qualifying here today, certainly with the nature of the track drying up. Of course, the humidity, a clear indicator that moisture now is being lifted up into the sky, making the air a little bit thick, which in itself, again, a challenge for the cars, because it just makes that air considerably thicker, therefore not allowing it to pass through perhaps as gracefully as typical airflow would. But as we now watch as Akshay Bora makes his way through the middle sector, dancing so close to that gravel on the edge, you can just see how much little of a threshold there is between success and failure through the Roche, should we say the Roche and Berth curves, as we now watch as Dellini once again looks to fly downhill with Akshay Bora also in hot pursuit. Bora going quickest, though, in the first and second sectors, so taking those times away from Enzo Dellini. It's Tim Gerhard's on top now this time. Obviously, the collective test 2 fastest driver. As now Dellini now steps up across the line, goes fastest again, nearly 1.5 seconds quicker as Akshay Bora now jumps ahead of his very own teammate. We'll also see Michael Belov cross the line in a moment as well. Hiyu Yamakoshi goes fastest here this time too. We got purples across the board here as well from Michael Belov, though I will say the final sector not quite as good this time around. Actually forfeited 0.2 against Akshay Bora's third sector time, but the first 2 sectors purple in the pocket of Michael Belov, who certainly is one of the more seasoned campaigners in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And it looks like now Belov has moved up to second fastest without a time deletion by the looks of it. So that was for car 6 of Hiyu Yamakoshi. So it was fastest for a brief moment after track limits at turn 9. Had the time taken away from him, so he'll have to go again. There is the Van Amersfoort driver now, making his way down through Sloshgold at turn 4. Again, could be the scene of many side-by-side moments, I'm sure, as we make our way through the weekend. But a fantastic, vibrant talent is Hiyu Yamakoshi as well, and we look forward to seeing him in action this weekend, as now Dellini once again discovers purple in the middle sector. It's a 38.619, which is, I must say, over 0.2 quicker than Akshay Bora's middle sector. So yet more time found for Dellini, and that will position him up at the top now with 4 minutes and 30 to go. Decent display here so far. Freddie Slater yet to unfurl the power in his Prema just yet. Still down in 10th fastest at the moment. His last lap, a 1:27.979. So needs to try and kick into gear late on. I'm sure he has made 2 personal bests on this current lap with a 21.9. Inside the first sector, he's just popped into 6th fastest, incidentally. So decent lap there from Slater, though 2 more times coming in that are above him. Reno Frankot, of course, a rookie competitor now in this grid rostrum. Highest of the rookies here in Group A right now. 4th fastest for young Reno Frankot, ahead of Taito Kato, Dion Gauda, who has been, by and large, the statement rookie competitor this campaign. But maybe Reno Frankot can give him some hefty competition. That was a very wide dance there from the 31. Certainly of Akshay Bora, just trying to use all of the circuit right now. He's purple inside the first sector, and no question, purple again coming through the middle. Enzo Dellini with a personal best in the first sector again. The time's currently stacked at a 1:26.363. That is the fastest time so far. We're talking just over 2.5 tenths between Dellini and teammate Akshay Bora. It's an all R-Race GP affair at the top of Group A at the moment. 3 minutes and counting to go as now we see Dellini go faster once more. On top, here comes Akshay Bora, loses time against his teammate in that final sector, so could not convert that purple middle sector to anything more. Reno Frankot has stolen the purple middle sector time this time around. Michael Belov still in 3rd. Now Hiyu Yamakoshi stumps up and goes 3rd fastest with a purple first sector. Now Reno Frankot goes into 3rd fastest also, and just inside 2 tenths of P1 sitter Enzo Dellini. Fantastic to see. Dellini, who was very vocal about his performance in his first season of Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine in recent interviews, and said that he has really stepped up this campaign, and I would say that the results have certainly illustrated that fact. And now sits back on top after a fantastic win in race 1 at Imola. Of course, this season, as a whole, a true competitor, 2 wins throughout the entirety of his Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine career so far. And 5 podiums, coupled with 2 pole positions already, and he would love to make it 3. Of course, there will be somewhat of a disadvantage for the Group A drivers, because as the track evolves, it'll only evolve more for the Group B drivers that head out later on, so you would, by and large, think that they will have the optimal track conditions. Hiyu Yamakoshi has gone and set the fastest middle sector time as we now watch as yet more cars come through. Akshay Bora back to the top now ahead of Enzo Dellini. Reno Frankot on an improvement as well, but lost time coming through the middle sector. Bora, though, on top. Reno Frankot, it was a 38.811 in that middle sector. That will set him 3 tenths back on everybody else. Hiyu Yamakoshi not able to improve either. We're now coming in to the final minutes, and a big lockup by the looks of it there from Hiyu Yamakoshi, making his way through the Niki Lauda curve at turn 1. And now storming up through turn 2 and up towards turn 3. So Bora, the one to catch. It's personal bests in the first sector for Bora and Dellini. They are discovering yet more time. Slater still remains in P6 at the moment. Hasn't really moved a muscle so far. Is over half a second away from our drivers in top spot. It's got Michael Belov in front of him and Dion Gauda behind him. Akshay Bora finding yet more time again, and I can tell you, mere thousandths between Bora and Dellini inside that first sector. It is so close. Frankot with no improvement in the first sector this time. Hiyu Yamakoshi has gone green, and Freddie Slater has gone green as well, but he is not in the 21.7s. He's in the 21.8s. It's purple in the middle, though, for Enzo Dellini, who's discovered an extraordinary amount of time in sector 2. Let's see if he can usurp. Yes, he can. First fastest, but Bora takes it back 24 thousandths quicker than Enzo Dellini coming through across the line this time. It's still our race, double our race on top, with Frankot remaining in 3rd for now. Belov, now Hiyu Yamakoshi enters the fold, goes 3rd fastest. Brilliant display from the Van Amersfoort driver. Frankot now displaced to 4th. Ian Eichmann's coming in late for a P5 appearance, and the 21 we're currently seeing on screen, that is Reno Frankot. Obviously part of 2 RPMs now that sit in the top 5, and Freddie Slater still remains down in 6. Still laps to come because Bora crossed the line with enough time to enter one more lap, and he's purple again, 41 thousandths up already on his own personal best time inside the first sector It's also a personal best for Enzo Dellini. This is not over, folks, by any means in Group A. A personal best also for Dion Gouda. He's in the 21.8s right now as Taito Kato goes 6th fastest, just behind Ian Eichmann's this time. Belov has been uprooted and placed down in 7th place, has done a 21.9 in the first sector. That is not going to certainly challenge Dion Gouda in the initial. He'll have to find a huge amount of time in the middle now, but Bora still lapping incredibly quickly. 21 thousandths up, still on Enzo Dellini right now, and looking to confirm Group A, P1, here at the end of qualifying as the checkered flag comes out, and it will be Akshay Bora fastest here this time in Group A session. The perfect response, the perfect carryover from Imola. Akshay Bora fastest in Group A. And a fantastic time it was too, a 1:25.981. For Akshay Bora to kick us off for the Red Bull Ring weekend. Bora on top. The Indian driver has done it, 1:25.981 to take Group A P1, ahead of teammate Enzo Dellini in second, who will feature on the second row. Hiyu Yamakoshi in third, ahead of debutant Reno Francot. Great display in fourth. Ian Eichmann's fifth, Taito Kato sixth, ahead of Michael Belov. Dion Gouda in eighth. Freddie Slater, a very poor start to his Red Bull Ring weekend, in ninth, ahead of Giovanni Maschio, Zenrichi, and then Tim Gerhardt, Yaroslav Vasalo, Jin Nakamura also relatively disappointing. I can only imagine there must have been an issue somewhere. A 1:41.063 is fastest time, and the Japanese driver will have to work hard to lift himself from the back row in order to challenge the front end. So that's your 14-car classification that took part in Group A. But Akshay Bora, the time to beat, the 1:25.981. That's the benchmark for Group B. We can only imagine they should surpass it just based on what we know from prior experience. But certainly he is the man to catch and the man in form at the moment. And as we said, a breakout weekend at Imola last time in the Emilia-Romagna region. Of course, home of the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix as well. And today we are at the home of the Austrian Grand Prix. And while we're at it talking about Grand Prix, folks, it would be rude of us not to congratulate a former Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine alumni by the name of Isaac Hadjar. What a performance back at Netherlands. The Dutch Grand Prix, of course, folks, where we witnessed him at Zandvoort go third and take his first Formula One World Championship podium in what, you know, can only be described as a very special occasion. And of course, when we talk about Isaac Hadjar, of course, a young man who, under his belt, 2 wins here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, 6 podiums and 1 pole position. A fantastic competitor, and of course we do wish Isaac Hadjar all the best, and hopefully there will be many more moments to come throughout the course of his career, and I have no doubt there will be. Certainly one of the most outstanding rookies in the Formula One World Championship today, and of course contesting against 2 other former Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine alumni by the name of Andrea Kimi Antonelli and also Gabriele Bortoleto. Of course, all 3 really making a name for themselves in the championship right now. So the question is, who's going to join them in the near future? Of course, we've had other alumni doing well in the realms of F2 lately. Leonardo Fornaroli, of course, leading the championship right now and doing a fantastic job. No question, looking to close out the championship and basically follow in the footsteps of Gabriele Bortoleto, who went straight from winning the F3 championship to winning the F2 title the following season. Fornaroli could be the one to do that too. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if that is a possibility. Still rounds to be had in the championship. Of course, F3 does get closed out this weekend as well at Monza, which, of course, we will be visiting as well later on this season in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And now we're back underway with Group A's session completed. Group B will now head out, and I can give you the rundown of the drivers that will be taking part as well. We're going to be seeing the return of Matteo De Paolo as well at Trident. Of course, currently sat second, 16 points away from Freddie Slater in the Drivers' Championship at this stage. Pedro Clero also part of this contingent with Evan Gilter, Rashid Al-Dahiri, Nikita Bedrin, Kanato Lay, Jack Beaton, Nandavad Biran Bakhti, Ruiki Liu, Edu Robinson, Eduard Borgner, Sakir Al-Maushari and Anea Frey and Alex Powell making his debut appearance in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine as well, the young Mercedes driver. Also, very important to note, we've had a driver switch up. Of course, no more are we going to see Axel GP on the grid. They will not be taking part in any future races going forward, but Sakir Al-Maushari certainly will, because he has moved from Axel and is now taking a seat at G4 Racing. So the young Q80 driver, who back in 2024 took part in the Saudi F4 Championship, and in the Meritus GP team went on to finish 5th in the championship with a victory and 5 podiums, 2 poles to his name. Moved to G4 from this round onwards after starting the campaign with Axel GP and hoping for an upturn in his fortunes through the course of the season. Of course, we've got some outstanding rounds still to come on the calendar, where surely there will be points on the table. Of course, Sakir Al-Maushari looking to chase his first points, as we now watch as Edouard Borgner makes his way down through towards the final corners here on this Red Bull Ring circuit. 13 minutes and 10. Plenty of time for these drivers to get ingratiated with the circuit. Of course, many of them for the first time over the weekend in this machinery, taking a step up from Italian F4. We saw we saw a few of them, a couple of them already in Group A. Of course, Anea Frey taking to the circuit this time for the very first time. Of course, no Zachary David this weekend, so CL Motorsport with 2 new drivers in their garage, as we mentioned. Of course, partnering Michael Belov. So it will be Newman Chi and Anea Frey also representing the team in orange and blue, as now they come through turn 3 this time, and at the very top of the circuit then wind downhill through towards Slosh Gold, which will be a prevalent overtaking opportunity, as will turn 3. And speaking of which, Matteo De Paolo trying to simulate such things now this time, going side by side with the number 12 of Anea Frey in his first weekend of competition. I think this is Matteo De Paolo just looking for that clean air, just looking for a clean run, really. Probably a little bit concerned he's going to get held up in behind certain drivers, perhaps just looking to try and find some clear space so he can push for an optimal lap. This is, of course, a great opportunity here for Matteo De Paolo to put himself back on the top step, or certainly on the front row, and indeed pole position for the first time, of course, since Hungary. That was his last pole, his first and only pole position of the season for Matteo De Paolo. Already, though, this season, 2 wins under his belt with 6 podiums and that solitary pole. Of course, he did manage to produce. And indeed, it looks like now he will settle in behind the number 12. The number 12 CL Motorsport car that now makes its way up the hill through towards turn 3. Anea Frey behind the wheel of that car. Very interested to see where he finishes in this session. Another little look there from Matteo De Paolo, and again they're going to go side by side, coming up through Remus near enough. Do wonder whether this is just, I mean, they're just squeezing for space, really, because it's so important to get those tyres up to optimal temperature, hence why we're seeing them weaving from side to side, just trying to use every ounce of circuit to apply extra temperature into the tyres, just to add to the sticky element of the surface of the Pirelli rubber. As we watch Rashid Al-Dahiri on his return as well, looking to lift himself to the top in the Yas Heat livery. That, of course, is being looked after in the Prema garage. And Rashid Al-Dahiri, who's had a also solid campaign so far, though recent results at Imola did not go his way. He's had his fair share of podiums, 3 of them to be precise. And was, of course, a pole sitter back at Spa-Francorchamps for race 2 that weekend. But has been consistently in the points in most weekends. In fact, Imola was the only round where he has not featured inside the points at all through a weekend. And there was some huge misfortune. Of course, we remember him crashing out at Tamburello, of course, at the start of August, when we went to the Emilia-Romagna region, as we now watch as the 45 of Jack Beaton. And speaking of misfortune, Jack Beaton. Unfortunately for him, we remember back at Budapest, where his car by and large essentially caught fire coming through towards turn 1, which was almost the cherry on the proverbial cake of misfortune for poor Jack Beaton, the man from the Gold Coast, but now has a chance this weekend to come back with a renewed vigour and a fresh approach after a long summer break. Can now look forward and hopefully to better days for the Prema team, and no question he deserves it after his fantastic efforts in Italian F4 the seasons prior. Of course, began his single-seater career in 2023 with F4 UAE, with Pinnacle, VAR, later Van Amersfoort Racing in Italian F4, with the F4 Southeast Asia title also coming his way with AGI Sport, and of course later then 2024 last year in Italian F4 with US Racing, second place, runner-up in the championship with 1 win and 10 podiums, and of course this season with Prema Racing in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Nikita Bedrin hops to the top. There he is now. A storied competitor who's been here for many, many years, much like Michael Belov, a seasoned campaigner in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. He's had plenty of experience in higher-end championships as well as Nikita Bedrin. So now Nandavud Birambakti finds more time as well. He's 100th up already on Pedro Clero's fastest time at the moment. Clero now on top for Van Amersfoort with a 1:27.226. Ahead of Nikita Bedrin right now. Nandavud Birambakti third fastest, ahead of Alex Powell, who is taking place as a wild-card rookie for the weekend. Just a one-off appearance to give himself an opportunity. Big moment there for the number 7 of Nandavud Birambakti there, currently third fastest, but a few harem-scarum moments like that, he could find himself lower and lower inside this 14-car classification. So we'll surely, whilst he is finding improvements on his last lap time, certainly won't be optimal in this case, should he have shaky moments like that. As we now watch Anea Frey come up towards the line as well. Here comes, though, Nikita Bedrin to once again light up the screens, go second fastest. Matteo De Parlo now on top as we speak as well, with 2 purple sectors in sectors 2 and 3. Also, Pedro Clero looking to try and dance himself back to the top. Purple inside that first sector and looking to find more in the third. Currently green in the middle with a 38.6. Of course, we expect those middle sector times to come cascading downwards as time goes on. Jack Beaton moves into fourth fastest. Here comes Pedro Clero, speak of the devil. And after that purple first sector run, purple in the middle, looking to go fastest again, and he certainly does. A great lap, a 1:26.221. Of course, remember the time to find. They need to try and beat a 1:25.981 set in place by Akshay Bora in order to secure pole position. Regardless, though, Akshay Bora will sit on the front row of the grid. It's car 22 as its time deleted for track limits at turn 9. That's Pedro Clero, funnily enough, so will not be sitting at top spot for now. So Matteo De Parlo is restored to the top. Rashid Al-Lahiri second fastest. Also Nikita Bedrin in third. It's purple again in the first sector, though, for Pedro Clero. He's finding yet more time. Here comes the 8 of Matteo De Parlo again, second in the championship, looking to take top spot back again. Obviously, still top spot in this classification. Obviously, top spot in the championship is what he's looking for. Nikita Bedrin, though, immediately stamps back 88 thousandths quicker based on the last lap. And now ahead of Matteo De Parlo, and in turn ahead of Rashid Al-Lahiri, who still remains in third. Evan Giltaire, I mean, again, another driver who would have probably expected perhaps a better season, especially after what we saw back at Misano, but Giltaire goes third fastest. Now immediately down to fourth is now Nikita Bedrin and Rashid Al-Lahiri return to the top 2 places. Back comes Clero, fresh after the time deletion. He now moves himself back to the top. And we've seen an incredible influx lately of brilliant Brazilian drivers. Of course, look no further from Rafael Camara, who has done a phenomenal job in F3 this season. And no question has been a dominant force, winning the title. And for the Trident team. But we certainly won't forget his fantastic toe-to-toe battles with Tuka Tappinen in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And of course, last season it would be Camara who would go on to win the championship crown and then go on to race in F3. As now the 22 of Clero looks to return his Van Amersfoort racing car to the top. Remember, of course, back at Zandvoort, pole twice that weekend. Second on race day 1, and he was first place in race 2. And currently holds 3 podiums with that 1 victory. A very important win, though, for Van Amersfoort Racing, celebrating home success, and the Brazilian looking to give yet more success to the Van Amersfoort team this time around. I can tell you that Clero's last time has surpassed Akshay Bora, so we will see a pole sitter in this session. A 125.773, more than enough to beat the 125.981 that Akshay Bora laid down in our Group A session. So pole will come from Group B this time. And the car's just winding down now slightly. Matteo De Paulo, though, on a personal best in the first sector. Pedro Clero set to 21.753. That is still faster than Matteo De Paulo on this particular lap. So while he might not necessarily chase a further improvement on his last lap, Matteo De Paulo still down on Clero right now. He certainly seems to have found another level here towards the end of this Group B session. As honestly, though, regularly through the course of the last 15 minutes or so, been notching himself up to the top every so often, as now Matteo De Paulo goes fastest. So that's a 125.709. He's taken that away from Pedro Clero. Nikita Bedrin down in 3rd. Rashid Al Dahiri now in 4th. With Evan Gilter gracing the top 5 with his presence ahead of Edu Robinson, the highest rookie in Group B thus far, as we now watch them come down the hill. Here comes Clero, getting very close to danger on the escape, coming through the Rint corner, and now out of Red Bull Mobile curve across the line. Will he surpass Matteo De Paulo? Not quite. Lost time in that final sector, and no surprises why. Just a little bit of a moment coming through the final sector that will surely have upset the promise of that lap. It was a purple middle sector on that last lap for Pedro Clero. A 38.259, if I'm not mistaken, which is certainly up there as the fastest middle sector we have seen so far throughout both sessions, as now we see the squeeze of the throttle once again from Clero. 64 thousandths between the top 2 right now, and Clero is, well, was going purple. It's now Rashid Al Dahiri stumping up the big times now. 21.718. That is 200ths quicker than Nikita Bedrin's current fastest first sector. It's a personal best for Nikita Bedrin, also in the middle sector. Personal best as well across the board for Edu Robinson on this lap, and not too far away from Bedrin's times either, as now Bedrin goes 3rd fastest once again. Rashid Al Dahiri down in 4th. There he is now in the bright baby blue coloured Yasheet liveried Prema car, the Mercedes driver. A three-part Mercedes lineup at Prema this season, obviously with Dorian Pan, and now we can obviously include Alex Powell as well. Pedro Clero looking really fast in the middle sector again. Purple once more, and will look to go fastest. No, not this time. Still 100th of a second down on Matteo De Paulo with 38 seconds to go, but they still have time to set in one final lap. Matteo De Paulo at 21.903 in the first sector is surely not going to allow him yet a greater deficit to Pedro Clero in second place. Clero might have a chance here to rip P1 away from Matteo De Paulo, because now Clero has gone purple in sector 1. A blistering first sector here from Clero, who's looking to unleash the beast now with mere seconds to go left in the session. 10 left. Matteo De Paulo with a personal best in the middle. A 38.322. He might, though, be very disappointed with that first sector time. That will set him back. Let's see where he sits. Now coming out of the final corner, needs to discover something. He is down by 92 thousandths on his previous best. Here comes Nikita Bedrin as well, fresh from setting a personal best in the middle sector, and he will not go any higher than 3rd for now. 81 thousandths between himself and Matteo De Paulo, but Pedro Clero is the one that we've surely got to watch, though the middle sector was very poor Fresh after a purple first sector at 38.558, essentially throwing the ball back in Matteo De Paolo's court as Evan Gilter finds green in sectors 1 and 2 as well. Still more times coming through. The 22 Van Amersfoort car of Pedro Clearo getting a lovely tow across the line now, will not surpass Matteo De Paolo. He will remain in second place by 100th of a second. It's Matteo De Paolo on pole for only the second time this season. And just look at this. Wow, my goodness. The number 2 of Edouard Borgner just getting a little upset coming through the Rint corner. I must say, it was very fortuitous, it has to be said, as he got onto the curb. But it's Matteo De Paolo, everybody. A 1:25.709, his second pole position of the season with Trident. Pedro Clearo in second place. He will be rueing that he couldn't pull the lap together coming through the middle sector. Nikita Bedring in third. Then comes Rashid Al-Dahiri in fourth. Eddie Robinson in fifth. Evan Gilter in sixth. Ruiki Liu in seventh. Nanavid Birimbakti in eighth. Anea Frey in ninth. Then followed by Alex Powell in his first start, of course, down in 10th place. Jack Beaton in 11th spot. Kanato Lay in 12th place. Then comes Saki Aramal Shireen. Now for G4 Racing ahead of teammates Edouard Borgner in 14th place. So there we have it. Highest rookie as well, Eddie Robinson in Group B. A fantastic session for him as well. But it's Matteo De Paolo, the one to catch here and now. Finishing ahead of Pedro Clearo. A minute gap, everybody. 10 thousandths, and to be more precise, 100th of a second between them. What an astonishing drive. An astonishing effort for Matteo De Paolo. It looked like it was all lost after the first sector on that closing lap, but Clearo had no answer for him. And of course, it all means it's going to be decided and fought out when we go racing later on this afternoon. Do be sure to join us. But from all of us here at Red Bull Ring, it's goodbye.